Welcome back to History in Motion. Let's begin our today's topic, which is on the first trap and snares. So let's start. Imagine walking through a dense prehistoric forest. The air is still. Everything seems calm until suddenly the ground gives away. A pit lined with sharp sticks open beneath your feet. For the first time in history, the hunter has become the hunted. Long before agriculture, writing, or even fire harness spear, some clever ancestor discovered a different way to hunt, one that required patience, cunning, and a deep understanding of animal behavior. This was not brute strength, this was strategy. This was the dawn of the trap. Today, we travel back tens of thousands years into the Paleolithic world to uncover how the first trap and snare reshaped not just hunting, but human intelligence itself. From the earliest stick and vine contraption to complex death pit, we will explore how humanity's oldest machine taught us to think like predators and even like gods. To understand why trap master, we have to step into the world where survival balanced on a knife edge. Picture Earth around 70,000 years ago. Ice Age wind sweeping across steeping plains. Mammoth herd thunders through frost, and a small group of humans huddled around flickering fires. Our ancestors lived by the rhythm of the hunt. But hunting was dangerous and unpredictable. Spear failed, prey ran faster, and often a single injury might death. A stone-tipped weapon could pierce flesh, but not always the hide of a bison or the armor of a mammoth. The idea of trap changed everything. It turned time into a weapon. Instead of chasing prey, humans could wait for it, using the landscape material and knowledge of animal habit to do the work for them. Archaeologists debate exactly when humans invented trap, since wood, vine, and rope does not fossilize well. Still, clue emerge in shadow. Ancient hunting pit found in desert, bone arrangement suggesting bathing site, and anthropological parallel with indigenous trapping tradition that has survived across continent. The evidence whisper a story older than recorded history. The rise of cognitive leap, an early form of engineering before civilization had a name. Let's begin where simplicity meets genius, the snare. Imagine a young hunter-gatherer watching a rabbit trail. They notice something. The creature always passes through a narrow gap between two trees. One day, the hunter bent a sapling, tied a loop of vine, and set a trigger twig. When the rabbit brushes past, the tension releases and the loop tightens around its leg. This is more than a hunting tool. It's a cause and effect concept. A primitive algorithm. Apply force, store energy, release upon trigger. In that moment, early humans weren't just hunters. They were inventors. Even the simplest snare required an understanding of physics, tension, and timing. The builder needed to envision an unseen moment in the future, a prey walking into an invisible danger. That's abstract thought, the very foundation of human intelligence. Fast forward to the late Paleolithic, roughly 30,000 years ago, archaeological sites across Europe, the Levant, and Asia revealed gigantic pits dug into the earth, sometimes lined with rows of sharpened stakes, other masked with branches and leaves. These were not individual efforts, they were community scale engineering projects. Entire band might work together to craft a pit trap large enough to capture an orc or horse. Imagine dozens of people digging with stone tools, cooperating silently, hiding evidence and driving herds towards the ambush. The hunt became choreography, humans as strategic pack predators, transforming the land itself into a weapon. In Syria's Al Rabi Desert and southern East Turkey, archaeologists have uncovered vast kites, stone structure resembling funnel leading into enclosure or hiding drop zone. Some span hundreds of meters, visible only from the air. These are some of the earliest examples of landscape scale traps, massive stone guide kill zone built thousands of years before the pyramid. To build something like this required planning, communication, and shared purpose. In other words, it required society. As humans learn to manipulate fiber and sinew, traps become more versatile. Snares of plant fiber gave way to twisted animal gut. Tension cords become stronger, springer, and deadlier. A vine loop became a cord trap attached to a bent sapling. In tropical rainforest, small game was caught with basket, trap, and weighted net, early precursors to woven technologies. Every trap was a microscope of human craft, wood chosen for flexibility, bones for sharpness, and vines for tentative strength. By the Mesolithic period around 10,000 years ago, the technology spread across continents. Archaeologists in Denmark discovered ancient fish weirs, row of wooden stacks driven into shallow river to funnel fish into basket. These are some of the oldest known evidence of large-scale food production, an evolutionary bridge between hunting and farming. Each structure echoes a fundamental human trait, task specialization. Some individuals become expert trap builder, their skill woven into an identity of the tribe. Beyond their practical role, traps reveal something profound about the human brain. Neuroscientists often describe the mental time machine, the ability to project ourselves forward to predict outcomes. Setting traps is a perfect example of this. You construct a scenario that unfolds after you are gone. You imagine an event in the future that your present action will trigger. That abstraction in its rawness form, and it's unique to human. Chimps can spear fish or crack nuts, but they rarely set true traps. Even our clever cousin the crows, who use tools with remarkable skill, do not create delayed mechanism trap. The concept of a device that operates autonomously, waiting invisibly for prey, marks a cognitive charm between us and every other species. In a sense, the first trap is also the first machine, a self-operating mechanism serving a human purpose, the first automation in history. Let's take a step deeper. The trap isn't just a tool, it's a metaphor for deception. It's the moment humans learn to weaponize invisibility, to manipulate expectation, to outthink nature. With traps came a new kind of power, control without confrontation. Anthropologists argued that this mindset shaped not only hunting but eventually warfare, storytelling, and even religion. The concept of invisible cause, a hidden force triggering result, echoes through mythologies worldwide. Spirits, faith, karma, all may stem from the same root, institution as the snare release. But with this new power comes moral tension. Some early indigenous culture viewed trapping as dishonorable compared to direct hunting. To trap was to deceive rather than facing the animal with respect. Others, however, saw it as sacred cunning, a gift of intelligence, and separating human from beast. Throughout archaeology and folklore, traps appear everywhere, from the mundane to the mythic. In South Africa border cave, researchers found slender bone tools dated over 40,000 years ago, coated with residue of poison. Some archaeologists believe these were part of early poison dart snare system, lethal even for larger mammals. In northern Europe, remnants of reindeer driving fences, ancient trap corridor carved into tundra rock, dated as far as 7000 BCE. Some are so vast that entire herd could be directed into kill enclosure. The mythical echoes are just as powerful as it is. In Greek mythology, Hephaestus trapped his unfaithful wife Aphrodite and her lover Ares in an invisible net, an ancient metaphor for the perfect snare. In Norse story, Loki ensnares his prey with intent, a parallel perhaps to the same ancient technical fascination with enlargement. Even the Bible Sam warned of the snare of the faller, the language of trap seeped into our moral imagination. Another misconception is that early humans relied purely on active hunting. But the truth is, passive food collection through traps, wires, snares, and pits may have provided a majority of protein intake in many Paleolithic groups. A single fish trap could feed a camp for days, freeing time for tool making, socializing, or migration. And here's a crucial paradox. Early traps likely caught more than their builders intended. Archaeologists have found remains of small mammals and birds in pits meant for larger beasts, an accidental harvest of the ecosystem. Humans learned by trial, error, and occasionally unwelcome surprise. Traps may seem primitive, but the influence on evolution runs deep, shaping our psychology, social behavior, and even language. By creating traps, early humans externalized thought. They built devices that embodied abstract reasoning, tension, release, prediction, and cognition. The externalization may have accelerated brain development, encouraging foresight and symbolic thinking. When we design trap, we modern invisible force, the same mental leap used later for art, mathematics, and science. The logic of the snare is also the logic of architecture, machinery, and narrative sequencing. In fact, one could say that every story is a kind of trap. It sets a scenario, lays tension, then triggers a release of emotion or revelation. The engineering of trap also required cooperation and teaching. A good trap builder needed to pass on knowledge across generations. This led to complex communication, descriptor for materials, timing, animal traces, and invisible mechanism. Language itself may have evolved partially through the need to teach such detailed tasks. Moreover, traps provided stability. A community that could trap animal, fish, or bird regularly no longer relied solely on risky hunt. Predator food source paved the way for population growth and eventually for sedentary life. Some anthropologists suggest that the first farming settlement may have emerged across river banks not by accident, but because early people had already learned to trap fish there. The transition from trap line to field might have been shorter than we think. As the mist rolled over that ancient forest again, imagine those early humans crouched in silence waiting. No engine, no metal, no sound, just the tickling of wind and instinct. Somewhere in the brush, a wire of vine trembles. The loop tightened. Another life sustaining moment secured by thought. Traps and snare weren't just tools, they were the blueprint of thinking. Each one captured not only prey, but the essence of what it meant to be human: foresight, patience, creativity, and control. From the sapling snare to the digital algorithm, the same ancient principle endure: cause, tension, and release. In the grand saga of evolution, the first trap marked the moment the hunter became an inventor and the forest became an extension of the human mind. Thank you for joining in. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And join me next time as we continue our journey from stone to silicon.